Chargers fans, what a week it's been, and it's only Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of the Bolt Briefing. My name is Taylor. I'm the host of the Electric Edge, and today we're going to surf the internet, talk about the latest Charger news that is out for this week, and boy, do we have a lot of it. So let's get into it. The first big thing happening today, Chargers new uniform unveil. So let's pull up here Chargers.com and take a look at these sick new uniforms. All right. So we have the two new uniforms for the 2025 season, plus some alternates for the current white and powder blue jerseys. First off, I absolutely love the Superchargers uniforms. The dark navy blue, that era that got me into Chargers football. I think these navy blue uniforms are so awesome. I went on the Chargers website today to buy one. It says that they're not going to ship until August 29th. So I will be at training camp next week in San Diego. So I'm going to try and see if they have these on sale and grab myself either a Herbert or a McConkey jersey. The all yellow ones, not my favorite, but what's cool is I already have a full yellow Justin Herbert jersey. So I'm already set for that alternate uniform. So if we go through this, they have the Charger Power, which is the all yellow uniform, and the Superchargers, which is the dark navy blue uniform, that are the additions. So the gold ones are going to be worn this year during the Colts game, which is a home game for Chargers fans. I mean, I think these are cool. I just think they're way too bright for me. But what's cool is that this Justin Herbert jersey, I know a couple seasons ago was sold as like a women's alternate jersey. So I saw it and I bought it. So I'm already set for when the Chargers play the Colts, I can match, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, it says here, Nike had previously done a retail version of the 2020 jersey in gold. That's the one that I had bought a couple years back. So they interviewed Dean Spanos about the jerseys. No, it wasn't Dean Spanos. So the article goes on to say, Nike had previously done a retail version of the 2020 jersey in gold. Said President of Business Operations, A.G. Spanos. It sold quite well and had really good word of mouth. In fact, in my household, it was my kid's favorite uniform. It definitely appeals to the younger demographic. Ultimately, it captured a lot of things we're looking to accomplish with an alternate uniform, Spanos added. It was a nod to the past, but still had a youthful energy. We're excited to have it in the closet. This look, the Charger Power, will feature the current white helmet alongside gold pants, which the team introduced in 2020. I mean, I like it. Like I said, it's not my favorite new uniform, but at least, like I said, these jerseys were sold a couple years back, and I bought one. So at least they're circulating around. You may not have to wait to buy one if you can find one of these maybe on clearance somewhere. But definitely not my favorite. Let's jump over to the Superchargers. This is definitely hands down my favorite. I love the navy blue, the old school Bolt look from the time I became a Chargers fan in 2005. This look is just off the charts awesome. I love the all navy look too. I think with this, yeah, there's no alternate version. It's just all navy. I was hoping they had the navy jersey with the white pants. That'd look really sick. And back to that 05-06 era. So they'll be wearing this uniform set against the Vikings. This is going to be Rodney Harrison's Hall of Fame game. This is a Thursday night game at SoFi, and then they're also going to wear it against the Raiders week 13 at home. So if you don't have tickets, go grab tickets to these games. I will be at both games. I'll be at the Minnesota game Thursday night and then also the Raiders game. I think that game is in November. So that'd be cool. And this is exactly what I thought. The article goes on to read, think of LaDainian Tomlinson setting the single season touchdown record, Antonio Gates terrorizing defenses, Junior Seau racking up tackles, Harrison making his name as the hitman, and Stan Humphries, Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh during his playing days, and Phillip Rivers throwing the ball all around the yard. Players who previously wore navy love the new look. I love the navy. That was one of my favorite, Gates says, and once I saw this new version, I said, yeah, I definitely would have scored a few touchdowns wearing that. I love that uniform. I wish I could play it again. The Chargers knocked it out of the park with this alternate. You know, there was speculation online as what the new alternates were going to be, and this was one that kept popping up, and it makes the most sense. It just goes back to that era of really good Chargers football, that era where LT killed it. You know, the Chargers were a playoff team. They were in the AFC West. Hopefully these uniforms reinvigorate the team to get back to those glory days where we were winning AFC West championships. We were going deep into the playoffs, getting to AFC championship games. So that'd be pretty cool if we can get back to that era of dominance in Chargers football, especially with this rollout this year. By the way, the Chargers social media team did a really good job with all their videos to kind of introduce these uniforms. I watched the Superchargers video, which had a couple interviews. I think Sean Marion was in it. Antonio Gates was in it. It was really cool how they had "This is how we do it" playing and all the highlight reels. Kudos once again, Chargers social media team. They always do a great job. And then this is the last piece. So they're going to introduce the powder blue pants. I really like both sets of these uniforms. I love the all powder blue, and I love the white and blue. I do like the gold pants, but this white and powder blue is just off the charts. So let's see here if they put out when they're going to have these alternates worn. Nope, they didn't put here when they're going to wear those powder blue pants as an away uniform. Yeah, so it says, now, however, the Chargers have the option to wear these pants with either their current home powder blue uniform or road white jersey. Count Cameron Dicker is a big fan of the new pants. They're sick. The powder blue pants, I'm a big fan of the all blue. It just looks so clean and so good. I gotta agree, Cameron. This is just, it looks so sick. Once again, the Chargers have the best uniforms in the NFL. No one can debate that. These are going to look awesome this year on the field. So be sure to grab your jerseys. If you're going to be in the SoCal area, if you're going to be at training camp, I would just check in to see if any of these uniforms are going to be at the Chargers Pro Shop. All right, let's switch gears and let's talk about a few other headlines that were around Chargers universe the past couple days. The big one being Mike Williams. He got put on the PUP list. So let's pull up this article. So this is from Bolt Beat. Mike Williams' Charger return couldn't have started in a worse way. I didn't see anywhere where it said what his injury is. Hopefully it's not tied back to his ACL surgery he had a couple years ago. But hopefully that information gets released at some point. So the article says, Chargers officially placed Williams on the PUP list, delaying his training camp debut. This is sadly a familiar feeling for Chargers fans who had to watch Williams get injured multiple times throughout his first tenure with the team. The good thing is, if you're on the PUP list, you can come off the PUP list anytime. So hopefully this is a precaution. Maybe something is just an ache or an ailment. Not very serious, that they can give him a week or two to kind of figure out whatever's going wrong with him, then he can get back into practice. This article goes on to say, Williams starting training camp on the PUP list would allow other wideouts to get more valuable time. There's a roster crunch at the back of the wide receiver depth chart with several names competing for what might just be one spot. Williams being out gives the Chargers more clarity. The article does talk about if it's connected to his ACL injury he had a couple years ago. I haven't seen anything on X about the injury. The Chargers seem to be keeping it pretty quiet, but I'm sure the information will come out soon. One thing that I did see that's tied to Mike Williams' injury is it may give Brendan Rice a chance to make the roster. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, he didn't play at all last year. Not really sure what the deal is with him. I think it was on Bolt Beat. Let me check. Definitely saw it. Yeah, it was here. Written off Chargers draft pick gets new life. So this article talks about possibly Brendan Rice getting his chance. Brendan Rice also has a good chance to get more reps because Tre Harris is holding out too. So that's another interesting piece. So the article says, Rice, son of Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, finds himself on the outside looking in, heading into Chargers training camp. The former USC Trojans is one of several wideouts competing for a final roster spot, and it seems as if the Chargers already have his bags packed. That is no longer the case, as Rice now has the opportunity to control his own destiny. With Williams watching from the sideline and Harris embroiled in contract negotiations, Rice has the chance to prove his worth during drills with the first team. It'll definitely be interesting. I think you'll see him get some reps during the Hall of Fame game, so it'll be something to look out for. Like I said, he didn't play at all last year, so I don't really know what the expectation is for him or even how good he is. But I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on during the Hall of Fame game and also the first week of preseason to kind of see how many reps he's getting and if he's out there with the first string of the offense. So keep an eye on that. Okay. Let's talk also about the Najee Harris update. So it was put out that Najee Harris had a superficial eye injury during 4th of July. I had talked about this on my prior episode. It came out today that it looks like the Chargers avoided some disaster with his eye injury. There's a promising update, so let's go through the article. This was a rumor last week. 4th of July was last week? As the 4th of July weekend, I remember going on X and seeing some accounts affiliated with Charger fans saying Najee Harris has an eye injury. It was kind of hearsay. I didn't really buy into it, but it kept spreading around the Chargerverse on X. And then it came out this week that he actually did have an eye injury. So as the article says, an internet rumor became reality for the LA Chargers last week when it was revealed that running back Najee Harris suffered an eye injury due to a firework mishap on the 4th of July. Rumors spread about Harris injuring his eye on social media, but it all seemed to be conjecture started by fans who wanted to have a laugh. That wasn't the case at all. I don't think it was that. Like, there were accounts that I've followed for a while that were saying something happened to his eye. So I don't think it was a laugh. I think someone got the word and kind of put it out there and kind of did what it needed to do with the information. Anyway, the article goes on to say, thankfully, the early reports about the severity of the injury are promising, although fans still remain cautious as the information was coming directly from Harris's agent. NFL insider Ian Rappaport provided more nuance on Monday. However, that paints a better picture for Harris and the Chargers. There's a video here. I'm not going to play it, but it goes on to say, the article, it's only suffered a superficial injury. It'll be interesting to see because there'll be pictures from training camp this week. I don't know if he's going to be out on the field. He hasn't been put on the PUP list yet, so that's also interesting. So be on the lookout for any pictures of Najee Harris, maybe if he does any interviews during training camp, any fan pictures, any fan interactions that talk about his eye injury. It's good to hear it's not anything too bad, but it's just in Chargers fashion. They signed a running back who's been durable his entire career. He comes to the Chargers, gets hurt before he even takes a snap. What are you going to do? So something else to keep an eye out for with training camp starting this week. Let's see if we got anything else. We got uniforms. There was a big signing today. The Chiefs re-signed Trey Smith on their offensive line to some massive deal. I think it was like $90 million. So let's pull up this article real quick. This just came out an hour ago. Yep. A 4-year contract worth up to $94 million with $70 million guarantee. The article is about the bargain that the Chargers got for Mekhi Becton. He signed a 2-year, $20 million contract that only carries a $7.3 million cap hit in 2025. You know, I was very critical about Ortiz during the first couple weeks of free agency that, you know, why aren't the Chargers signing anyone on the offensive line, any offensive weapons for Justin Herbert, fixing the defensive line? But as the offseason kind of played out with signings, I think Ortiz killed it. He didn't spend any enormous amounts of money, get the Chargers into bad contracts. He got bargain prices for some players, if they can play the whole year and be who they were, are going to be tremendous value for the team. So I will be the first to admit I was extremely critical, but I think he did a fantastic job during the offseason in finding players that can fit on this team, that can bring value to this team, and ultimately could be a massive payoff if they can produce to levels that they once did. But in regards to Becton, I mean, he just won a Super Bowl, so he had a resurgence with Philly. He was kind of a first-round draft bust with the Jets, but the Jets is a whole nother dysfunction. I think Becton's going to be awesome on the line this year and really beef up protection for Herbert. But anyway, the article just goes on to talk about his contract. It says if Becton continues to strong play from 24, the gap between he and Smith isn't really that large. It definitely isn't big enough to go from $10 million to $23 million in a season. The article finishes with what I had just talked about. This is another good example of smart roster building by Chargers GM Joe Ortiz. Overloading a roster with large contracts can be detrimental. Just ask former GM Tom Telesco. Instead of chasing big fish, Ortiz is finding the best value for his buck in free agency. There you go. So, just something to bring up, but like I said, I'm looking forward to how well that offensive line really is this year and keeping Herbert upright. One last thing, I wanted to see what this article said because I had brought this up on my last podcast and I also put this out on X. If You have Mike Williams hurt. You have Tre Harris holding out for a contract. Why don't you give Keenan Allen a call? Article talks about, giving Keenan Allen a call of Mike Williams. So it says, despite having a solid campaign with the Chicago Bears in 24, a long-time Charger wide receiver Keenan Allen still finds himself without a team for the upcoming 25 season. Let's see. The only logical explanation for Allen not securing a contract yet would just have to be his age, as he turned 33 on April 27th. But if prediction from Bleacher Report Mo's Moton comes to fruition, the 6-time Pro Bowler will soon be catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, the member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do I think he goes to the Steelers? No. He had mentioned in interviews he either wanted to go back to the Bears or go to LA. So you got 2 shots in LA with the Rams and the Chargers. But the Bears, I think the Bears drafted another wide receiver. They drafted Colston Loveland in this draft. I don't think they need any more offensive weapons. Let's see. This talks about Mike Williams getting thrown on the bus with Aaron Rodgers. But the article talks about him making a call not to go to the Steelers if there's a possible fit there. I think the Chargers should make a call to Keenan Allen if Mike Williams' injury is serious and if there's this continuous holdout with Tre Harris. It doesn't hurt to bring him on a bargain discount. I'm sure he'll sign. I'm sure he'll love to go play with Herbert again. I don't think it's also a bad thing for depth of the wide receiver position. Let's go back to the playoff game against Jacksonville. I mean, during that game, they had Michael Bandy as one of their wide receivers with that reverse sweep that went nowhere. So I don't think having depth at that position is bad. And it also helps bringing back a favorite of Herbert's just in case Mike Williams has to be out for an extended period of time. So with that being said, this is this week's edition of the Bolt Briefing. Be sure to subscribe to the Electric Edge on YouTube. Follow me on X at Electric Edge Pod. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about the latest news from the world of the Chargers. Any upcoming things you'd like to hear about. Your upcoming predictions for training camp. What you think about the new uniforms. I read every comment. I try to respond to every comment. So please leave me a comment. Drop a like. Let me know what you think. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to the Electric Edge. And as always, bolt up.